The following video is not meant for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFN Geek coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers action figure from Wave 4 of the Age of the Primes line that I personally was the most excited for, and was the one I've been waiting for the most anticipation for release. And it's one that, for many Transformers fans and collectors, they've been waiting years for this character to finally be given a modern, updated Transformers action figure. And as the title of the video has already revealed, tonight we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Autobot Targetmaster Sureshot. So yeah, Sureshot is one of the Autobot Targetmasters. He was introduced in Transformers Generation 1 along with the other Targetmasters during 1987, the fourth individual year of the Transformers franchise. And unfortunately for Sureshot, like most of the Autobot Targetmasters, he was more popular in Japan than he was in the United States because, as longtime Transformers fans are aware of, in the Transformers Generation 1 film, which was released now, 40 years ago, this upcoming summer will mark the 40th anniversary of the G1 film, but infamously, after Optimus Prime's death and the Autobots had a new leader, Optimus Prime, Optimus Prime's death was a wake-up call to Hasbro that Optimus Prime wasn't just a action figure that was appearing on television screens. He became a beloved fictional character by children everywhere, and killing him off was the biggest mistake they ever made, and the popularity of the Transformers franchise never fully recovered after Optimus Prime died in the Transformers Generation 1 film. Optimus Prime's death made the third season of the Transformers cartoon not as popular as the first two seasons, and by the time the decision was made to bring Optimus Prime back to life by the end of the third season, ratings on the third season of Transformers Generation 1 had been so low that there was only enough money left in the budget for when the show was renewed for a fourth season. In 1987, Sunbow Productions only had enough money to produce 3 more episodes, so the decision was made for a 90-minute storyline, I'm to be told, titled The Rebirth, which introduced the Headmasters and the Targetmasters, such as Sureshot. The Rebirth was originally actually going to be a 5-part episode story because, with the first 3 seasons of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon having 95 episodes, then doing another 5 episodes for the show's 4th season would have brought the episode total up to 100 exactly. But the budget only could allow for 3 episodes to be produced, so the storyline was reduced from 150 minutes to just 90 minutes, and because of that, the amount of screen time that the Season 4 Transformers characters enjoyed in the United States and on Western television, it was reduced to just a fraction of minutes. I think Sureshot might have only spoken 1 or 2 sentences, which is an unfortunate reality for most of the Headmasters, Targetmasters, and Season 4 Transformers characters introduced in 1987 during the Rebirth. They had such few screen time and spoke so few sentences due to the sheer amount of characters introduced in the Rebirth that they and had a lot more screen time on television in Japan. And Optimus Prime, the Transformers Generation 1 movie, it wasn't really released in films until after the 4th season of Transformers had started, and so the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon remained much more popular in Japan than it did here in the United States, and the 4th season of the Transformers cartoon, it took an entirely different direction. The events of the Rebirth were ignored by Takara Tomy, and Japanese television chose to do an entirely new series titled Transformers Headmasters, since the Headmasters were the focal characters of the 1987 lineup, even though Hasbro managed to advertise the Targetmasters being just as important as the Headmasters, and so Sureshot, like all the 1987 Year 4 Generation 1 Transformers characters, had a lot more screen time on Japanese television than he did here in the United States. And unfortunately, to this day, there has never been a proper, for those like me who don't really enjoy listening to Japanese cartoons in Japanese because my attention span and doesn't allow me to enjoy listening to animated cartoons in languages besides English, my own native language. There has never been a proper English dub of the Japanese exclusive series of Transformers Generation 1. And when I say proper dub, infamously, a production company tried to do an English dub of the Japanese exclusive episodes of Transformers the Headmasters, and the dub infamously today is so terrible. It has never been released on home video, it's never been available for online streaming services, and I think some episodes might have been leaked on YouTube by people who found copies of the episodes. But the English dub that was done for Transformers the Headmasters, it's really terrible. They didn't do the proper names of Transformers characters, and the voices that were done didn't match up the voices that characters had been given officially by Hasbro. And so the English dub of Transformers the Headmasters, a lot of people who are aware of its existence, once they find and listen to it takes just one episode for you to immediately dislike how it is. That's what it was like when I first heard the dub. Before, I didn't even think Headmasters had ever been dubbed, but after finding out that it did, and it was so terrible people choose its existence, I could kind of see the reason why. Now, the reason I dabbled on about all of that is because of the different directions that the Transformers franchise took in 1987. Sureshot, like so many of the Transformers characters introduced to the franchise in 1987, he's remained in obscurity and is not one of the more well-known Transformers characters. But one of the reasons why, for me personally, I said at the start of the video, Sureshot was the action figure from Wave 4 of Age of the Primes that I personally was the most excited for, and I said some collectors have been waiting years for Sureshot to come out. The reason why is because we got modern-day action figures of the Decepticon Targetmasters, along with half of the Autobot Targetmasters during the Titans Return line, which, now that it's the year 2026, the Titans Return line was released 10 years ago. And I have to pause for a moment because I cannot believe it's been a decade since Titans Return was released and appeared on the shelves of retail stores. But, the Titans Return line, we got modern-day figures of the Decepticon Targetmasters of Trigger Happy, Misfire, and Slugslinger. Slugslinger recently was given a repaint and slight retool action figure as an Amazon exclusive during the Legacy United line. He was sold in a 2-pack with Legacy United Leader Class Sandstorm. A lot of fans and collectors are hoping that Misfire might be given a re-release or a reissue because of the 3 Decepticon Targetmasters, he was the hardest to find of them all. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Autobot Targetmasters we got in Titans Return were the ones that originally didn't start off as Targetmasters. There's basically, for the Autobot Targetmasters, there's 2 groups of them. There are Autobot Targetmasters who originally were not Targetmasters, and they were originally just regular Transformers characters. And then there were ones who were Targetmasters from the get-go. The ones that didn't start off as Targetmasters were the 1986 Autobot cars of Blurr, Cup, and Hot Rod. They became Targetmasters in 1987 just to increase the number of Targetmasters available in U.S. markets by Hasbro. There were originally only 3 Autobot Targetmasters, Sureshot being one of them. The other 2 were Crosshairs and Pointblank. In Japan, Takara Tomy decided, instead of making Hot Rod, Cup, and Blurr Targetmasters, they decided to create 2 brand new Targetmasters named Stepper and Artfire. Stepper was a repaint of Jazz, as an Artfire was a repaint of Generation 1 Inferno. And in the United States, Stepper was eventually released with a brand new name of Autobot Targetmaster Ricochet in the 2000s. Artfire didn't get a U.S. released action figure until his Generation Selects repaint was released by Hasbro back in 2021 after Kingdom Inferno was released. And even though we got Targetmaster figures of Blurr, Cup, and Hot Rod in the Titans Return line, the original OG Autobot Targetmasters didn't get any action figures by that point. The first one was Stepper/Ricochet, who was given an action figure that was a repaint of Power of the Primes Jazz. He was one of the first 2 Transformers figures released in the Generation Selects line back in 2018 when the Power of the Primes line was on the shelf. Then the year after, in 2019, when the Transformers Siege line was on the shelves of stores, Hasbro, the designers, looked at the Siege version of Ironhide and decided that that mold was good enough to release a brand new action figure of Crosshairs. And after Crosshairs, it took a couple of years, and it wasn't until Legacy Year 1 when Pointblank was released, and unlike Crosshairs, who was a repaint and retool of a previously released figure, Siege Ironhide, Pointblank was an entirely brand new mold. And Hasbro announced during 2023, when Legacy Evolution was on the shelf, that one of the Transformers action figures that was going to be released was going to be Sureshot, in order to complete the trio of Autobot Targetmaster, since Pointblank and Crosshairs had already been given action figures. But then Hasbro announced that Sureshot was being delayed to Legacy United. Then, when Legacy United came around, Hasbro announced that once again Sureshot was delayed and that he would be released in Age of the Primes. But then it was announced last year in 2025, yes, Sureshot was finally going to be released in Age of the Primes, but it wouldn't be until close to the end of the year during the Christmas shopping season, when instead of being released in Wave 1 of Age of the Primes, Sureshot was going to be released during Wave 4, which he eventually was. So yeah, Sureshot, he was delayed from production multiple times. He was originally going to be released in the Legacy Evolution line back in 2023. So it took 3 years for the designers at Hasbro and Takara to finally get Sureshot out on the shelf. So that's why a lot of fans and collectors have been anxious about getting a hold of Sureshot and completing their collection of Autobot Targetmasters. Also, one thing to note about Sureshot here, this right here, his deluxe class size Transformers Age of the Primes action figure, this is only the second action figure that Generation 1 Sureshot has been given by Hasbro. The previous one, which until his Age of the Primes figure released, which was the only one, was of course his original Generation 1 Autobot Targetmaster figure from 1987. So since Sureshot, people started to get a hold of him last year in 2025, it took 38 years for Sureshot to finally get a second action figure. So yeah, that is how overlooked of a character Sureshot is overall. That his Age of the Primes deluxe class figure is only the second action figure of him that's gotten released out there. So here he is inside his box. He comes packaged in robot mode. Oh, there's some artwork of his robot mode and his vehicle mode of a Cybertronian dune buggy. Just like Pointblank, and Sureshot is an entirely brand new mold. He's not retooled from a previously released Transformers action figure. And so, for the 3 Autobot Targetmasters, they're modern action figures. Crosshairs has now become the oddball of the trio of OG Autobot Targetmasters, because he's not a new mold, he's a repaint and a retool of Siege Ironhide. Some Transformers fans and collectors are speculating if we were to get a new action figure of Crosshairs, if Hasbro and Takara would go the extra mile and make him an entirely brand new mold like they did with Pointblank and Sureshot. You got the same artwork of Sureshot's robot mode. That's on the front of the box. You got it here on the side of the box with a close-up of his Targetmaster partner named Spoilsport. Spoilsport's name does not appear on the front of the box, but it does appear here on the back of the box. On this side, other side, you got some of the primes from the poster image for the Age of the Primes line. The ones pictured, I believe, are supposed to be Prima, Vector Prime, and Alpha Tri Ion. So that's pretty nice there. You got Sureshot's name here on the top of the box, and once again, Hasbro managed to procure the registered trademark on the word Targetmaster, so the Targetmasters are called Targetmasters once again. During the Titans Return line, when we started to get modern action figures of the G1 Targetmasters, specifically the Decepticon Targetmasters, Trigger Happy, Misfire, and Slugslinger, Hasbro wasn't able to procure a trademark on the word Targetmaster, and because they couldn't get a registered trademark on the word Targetmaster, they decided to rename the Targetmasters Battle Masters, and some Transformers fans and collectors at the time, during the Titans Return line, questioned if one of the reasons Hasbro couldn't get a registered trademark is because the word Targetmaster if it sounded too violent to be used, and which is why they switched to Battlemaster. But I'm just glad that but I personally am glad that Hasbro was able to get a registered trademark on the word Targetmaster once again for Sureshot's release. So the fact that they had to put the word Targetmaster in front of Sureshot's name means that they couldn't get a registered trademark on Sureshot's name without putting anything in front of it. So someone else out there has a copyright to the single word Sureshot with nothing else in front of it. Who that is, I honestly don't know, but I don't care because I'm just really thrilled to finally have an action figure of Sureshot to complete my collection of Autobot Targetmasters. Coming on here to the back of the box, you've got Sureshot in his robot mode. And again, there's his alternate mode of a Cybertronian Doom Buggy, and his Targetmaster partner is named Spoilsport. And unfortunately, Spoilsport is similar to the Targetmasters that have been released with the more recent Targetmaster Transformers figures, such as Pointblank, and then the Decepticon double Targetmasters of Quake, Needlenose, Spinister, and subsequent action figures that are repaints of those figures where the Targetmaster robot itself, the only joint it has is a hinge joint at the robot mode waist, which you use to just flip around and point out the gun barrels. So the modern Targetmasters, they are lackluster when compared to the Battlemaster Transformers that Hasbro released in the Titans Return line back in 2016. So the more modern Targetmasters have definitely felt like a downgrade to Transformers fans and collectors, since they don't really have much articulation in robot mode, and pretty much they fail to realize the full play value of the Targetmasters, where, yes, the Targetmasters do transform into a laser gun, but they're first and foremost Autobots and Decepticons. They're robots, where the laser gun of a larger-sized Autobot or Decepticon just happens to be their alt mode. And the more modern Targetmaster robots, it feels like the designers at Hasbro and Takara went the opposite direction when designing them, where they're instead of being Transformers, they're first and foremost now laser guns who transform into an Autobot or a Decepticon. And so, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, but I really hope it does, because I couldn't find better vocabulary to describe it. But overall, I hope I got my point across that. Excuse me for yawning on camera. The more modern Targetmasters aren't as great as the Battlemasters we got in Titans Return a decade earlier. It doesn't show it here on the back of the box, but just like the Generation 1 version of Sureshot, the only place that Spoilsport can store on Sureshot when he's transferred into his alt mode is right here on the front of his vehicle mode, and he basically is a Doom Buggy with a cannon and mounted on top of the hood. From the few reviews I've seen of people who've gotten a hold of Sureshot, he definitely feels like a Transformers action figure that would have been released during the Legacy Trilogy instead of the Age of the Primes line. One thing to note is that his wheels, for instance, are clipped on instead of being attached to him with metal pins. And some people have been saying that I saw one Transformers reviewer saying that Sureshot felt more like a Legacy Transformers action figure than one from the Age of the Primes line. And watching that person's review, I came to the conclusion that they probably weren't aware that Sureshot was actually in fact going to originally be released during the 3 Legacy Trilogy lines of Legacy Year 1, Legacy Evolution, and Legacy United between 2022 and 2024, and he kept getting delayed from release. So, yeah, despite being released in the Age of the Primes line now in Iron's Line at the tail end of 2025, Sureshot still feels like he was part of the line he was originally going to be, which I can't remember if it was Legacy Year 1 like Pointblank was, or if it was Legacy Evolution, but yeah, he definitely feels like he was supposed to be released much earlier than he had been. And so he's an example of how when a Transformers figure is delayed from a previous line, by the time he does get released in a subsequent line, the design aesthetics from the previous line of Transformers action figures might carry over into the delayed figures released in a more recent line of Transformers action figures. So that's pretty much all there is to say about it. From reviews I've seen, the transformation on Spoilsport is somewhat complex. It is similar to how his Generation 1 action figure transformed, but there are more additional steps involved due to how Hasbro and Takara have lately been trying to go for animation accuracy and have the Transformers characters, especially the Generation 1 characters, match up their animation models from Sunbow Productions cartoon back in the 1980s. So there's a lot more. There's even though the number of steps say 25 steps for Sureshot, it definitely feels like there's more to it than that. And one last thing I will say is that, for those wondering, yes, Sureshot has always looked like this, where his two-tone color scheme is bright yellow and red, making him look like a ketchup and mustard Autobot. So yeah, he almost looks like an Autobot would if they worked at McDonald's with those bright red and yellow colors. But that joke aside, surprisingly, there are very few Transformers action figures that have red and yellow as a two-tone paint job. So yeah, Sureshot is unique in that regard with the color choice that the designers at Hasbro and Takara used on his Generation 1 Targetmaster figure back in 1987. So without further delay, that's pretty much all there's to say. So before I keep babbling and make the video longer than I wanted to, which I already have, let's get Sureshot out of his box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and so before we look at Sureshot himself, here is his Targetmaster partner, Spoilsport. And as I said, pretty much the only articulation Spoilsport has is the hinge joint at his waist, which you use to transform him into Sureshot's laser gun. So you can have him sitting down or doing an ab crunch if you want, or bending over. That's pretty much it. There's no articulation in his arms, and he doesn't have any individual leg articulation. So compared to the Battlemasters that we got in the Titans Return line in 2016 with individual arm and leg movement, the modern Targetmasters that we started to get with Legacy Year 1, Needle Nose, the Decepticon Double Targetmaster, the more modern Targetmasters definitely feel like a downgrade compared to the Battlemasters from Titans Return. And to transform Spoilsport into Sureshot's laser gun, just you've that. I keep saying it's a hinge joint, but it clicks, so it feels like a ratchet joint. So just do it 180 degrees and hide Spoilsport's upper body inside his legs. Then flip out the double barrels of the double laser gun barrels, and there you have Spoilsport transformed into Sureshot's laser gun. And so here is Sureshot himself. He's a average height of a deluxe class figure. He's not on the small side by any means. And so I do enjoy that he's not small by any means. Now, I said he had a two-tone color scheme of red and yellow. Those are his two primary colors, but he also has orange bits here, like on the upper part of his shoulders and the hinge joints there. His hands are orange, so are his robot mode feet. Those are orange, so he actually has three colors to him. But the orange is almost the same shade as the yellow at first glance, so it looks like he only has two colors to him. Now, one thing to note about Sureshot, right here on his lower arms, between his hands and his elbow joint, his lower arms are actually done in yellow paint. They're actually done in the same shade of orange plastic that his fists are made of, so be mindful that if you accidentally scratch if Sureshot's lower arms rub against a solid surface, there is a risk that the yellow paint could chip off and he could end up with orange lower arms someday, so just be mindful of that. There are other parts of him that are paint as well. This red racing stripe up here on his back, which becomes the hood of his alternate mode where Spoilsport stores when Sureshot transforms into his alt mode. That's red paint as well. But in terms of and then of course the yellow used on the hubcaps for all 4 of his wheels. That's yellow paint as well. The wheels themselves are done out of black plastic, but I am grateful that they painted the hubcaps of them and to make it match up with his Generation 1 action figure. So yeah, overall, Sureshot is a pretty decent deluxe class Transformers figure. For articulation, his I'll start off with the waist swivel so he can spin his upper body 360 degrees left and right. Head's on a ball joint so he can rotate 360 degrees left and right. The head can look up this far. Alright, and it can also look down, like a fraction of a millimeter. But yeah, pretty amount of articulation at the head joint. The shoulders have the potential to spin 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise, but you do have to move it out of the way to avoid the backpack, which contains the front wheel assembly for his alt mode. You have a swivel joint in the bicep, at a hinged elbow, no wrist swivel, because that's the reason why the lower arm has the yellow paint on it. The hands are permanently fixed to the lower arm, and they're actually sculpted on it, so the hands and the lower arm aren't separate parts. It's just all one piece. So that's due primarily to how a Sureshot transforms into his alt mode of a Doom Buggy, but it would have been nice if the hands would have been a separate piece. It looks like, because the lower arms are hollowed out on the inside, as you can see right here, so it looks like the designers were trying to give Sureshot wrist swivels at some point, but then they realized since the hands don't fold into the lower arms for transformation, rather than have the hands spinning around and making a floppy mess for collectors when they transformed Sureshot into his alt mode, they decided to just make it one piece so the hands are permanently fixed in the same spot. So yeah, that's something I haven't seen on Transformers action figures in years, is one where the hand on the lower arm where the hand wasn't a separate piece, it was sculpted as part of the lower arm. I saw those all the time when I was collecting Transformers action figures back in the early 2000s with the Armada and Transformers Energon lines of action figures, and that's one thing the designers at Hasbro and Tomy have tried to do in more recent years, is make the hands separate parts from the lower arms to allow for hand articulation for the robot modes. So in that regard, one could argue that Spoilsport is somewhat G1 accurate, with lacking wrist joints in his arms. But moving down, we already did the waist swivel, so there's universal jointed legs, so legs can go forward this far, and then they can go backwards this far before they hit these parts of the front of Sureshot's vehicle mode. He does have a thigh swivel, but it's somewhat hindered due to the blocky shape of the thigh eye itself off at the top of the leg. So there's a thigh swivel there, but it's rendered somewhat useless. Hinged knee joint, it can go 90 degrees before the wheel hits the back of the upper leg. The feet have an ankle tilt, so you can get Sureshot into a sprawl-legged pose, and the feet also move up and down, but they mostly move in the reverse direction of what they normally are supposed to do due to how they transform. And out of the box, the right side foot on Sureshot, on my copy, it's a lot more loose than the left side. At least on the left eye, the left foot, the swivel joint has a lot more grip to it than the right side foot. But overall, I can forgive that little nitpick just to knowing how much excited I am to finally have an action figure of Sureshot in my Transformers collection. Apart from Spoilsport, Sureshot does technically come with 3 accessory pieces. These orange pieces right here at the tops of his shoulders, these are the racing fins or racing spoilers for his alternate mode. They are not separate pieces, and they're packed in the box separately, and they attach through 5mm ports sculpted or 5mm pegs sculpted on the bottom of the spoiler. The 5mm peg hole ports that are peg holes that they plug into, they're the more recent hexagon shape that we started to see with the Transformers Legacy action figures, due to the designers at Hasbro and Takara realizing that hexagon-shaped holes allow for better friction than circular ones, than circle-shaped ports. But the pegs for the racing spoilers, they aren't that deep. As you can see right here, the peg is somewhat flat. So because of that, a lot of fans and collectors have been complaining that Sureshot's spoilers have fallen off at a moment's notice, especially when transformed into robot mode. So just be mindful that they will pop off. And because of the shape of them, in which they curve around the side of the shoulder joint, it hinders Sureshot's arm articulation. So, yeah, Sureshot has a lot more vehicle mode kibble on him than most fans and collectors would like to see. But yeah, overall I do enjoy how he came out. And one thing, if you want him to look like his Generation 1 action figure, then you can bring his legs together and connect them right there, and that's how Generation 1 Spoilsport transformed into in his robot mode. Infamously, a lot of the Transformers Generation 1 action figures, especially those that were released between 1986 and 1989, and some of the deluxe class sized Transformers action figures that would be the equivalent of modern day deluxe class size, they actually had the bottom half of the legs below the knee joint, they were permanently sculpted in place with a little line cut out in the front to show that it was supposed to be two legs that were permanently connected to each other. And so some fans and collectors online have joked that Generation 1 action figures, they actually had one leg that had two separate eyes meeting at the pelvis. So I'm really glad that is a thing of the past, and that modern day Transformers have separate legs now compared to their Generation 1 counterparts. Alright, and now for a size comparison with some other Transformers action figures. Here is Sureshot next to his fellow Autobot Targetmasters. Here is Legacy Pointblank. And hopefully I can reach him. I placed him a little too far away than I should have. But there is Legacy Pointblank next to Sureshot. And here also is Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege Deluxe Class Crosshairs. So yeah, here are all three of the OG Autobot Targetmasters with their modern Deluxe Class action figures. And as I said already, Crosshairs was released in the Siege line back in 2019. So since Sureshot first came out last year in 2025, it took 6 whole years for Hasbro to finally complete the trio of Transformers Generation 1 Autobot Targetmasters. So for many Transformers fans and collectors, 6 years was too long of a wait to finally complete this trio of Autobot Transformers armors. And as I said, Pointblank and Sureshot, Hasbro and Takara, the designers, went the extra mile and designed entirely brand new molds for the two of them. Infamously, many Transformers fans and collectors don't like Legacy Pointblank due to how his arms move in robot mode and how they transform. I myself, I'm one of the very few Transformers fans and collectors who actually doesn't care how Pointblank's arms articulate when he's in his robot mode. But yeah, Crosshairs is the oddball because he is a retool of Siege Ironhide, and in fact the only difference between Crosshairs and the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege version of Ironhide is that, apart from the paint job, is his head sculpt. Crosshairs was given the head sculpt based more on his appearance in Transformers The Rebirth than his Generation 1 action figure. And I think that's true also for Pointblank and Sureshot. They have their head sculpts are based more off their appearance in The Rebirth than their Transformers Generation 1 action figures. But yeah, it is nice seeing them all standing side by side with each other. And one thing I've always enjoyed about the Autobot Targetmasters is that, and their dominant color scheme. They're the three primary colors. Pointblank is red, edge, Sureshot is yellow, and Crosshairs is blue. I've always loved that visual representation of the Autobot Targetmasters in that regard. Infamously, because Crosshairs, during the Siege line, there were no Targetmasters, but the following year, after he was released in 2019, in 2020, when the Transformers Earthrise line was out, one of the Transformers that was released in the Transformers Walmart exclusive Netflix line was Crosshairs' Autobot Targetmaster partner, whose name I just lost right now. I'll have to look that up. Okay, so I just looked it up. Crosshairs' Targetmaster partner is Pinpointer. Pinpointer's repaint of a Titan's Return Battlemaster, and as you can see, the Battlemasters not only have more intricate sculpting detailing than the more modern Targetmasters that were introduced with Legacy Needle Nose in 2022, but they're also much larger. So Pinpointer is a lot more Peacemaker is a lot more of an elaborate Targetmaster than Spoilsport and Pointblank's Targetmaster partner of Pinpointer. The only way to get Peacemaker to complete Crosshairs and have his Targetmaster partner with him was to buy the Voyager class Walmart exclusive Transformers Netflix version of Megatron. On Peacemaker was one of two Targetmasters that was battling and fighting against Megatron in his attempt to take over Cybertron. So, just like other Targetmaster characters released in the Siege line, such as Spinister, you had to buy the Targetmaster separately in order to have the partner complete. It's kind of a double-edged sword in the fact that to have a more elaborate Targetmaster that is a much more intricate Transformer armor, you have to buy it separately, versus the ones that actually do come with their Targetmaster partners, where they're much smaller and a lot more bland. And it's one that most Transformers fans and collectors haven't really enjoyed too well. But yeah, there they are. There is a Sureshot with his fellow Autobot Targetmasters, Pointblank and Crosshairs, and I'm just really thrilled to see these guys together. As I said, unlike Cut, Blurr, and Hot Rod, who originally started out as non-Targetmaster Autobots, these guys were Targetmasters from the get-go. Oh, and so I consider them the true Autobot Targetmasters. I don't always consider Cut, Blurr, or Hot Rod Targetmasters, since they never started out that way. But for one more special size comparison, in addition to Pointblank and Crosshairs, here is Sureshot next to Stepper, aka Ricochet, and also Artfire. So, as I said, I mentioned this earlier in the review. Takara Tomy, rather than releasing Cut, Blurr, and Hot Rod with their Targetmaster partners in Japan, they decided to take the Generation 1 Jazz and Inferno molds and retool them into brand new Autobot Targetmasters named Stepper and Artfire. And they retooled the non-Targetmaster Jazz and Inferno molds to allow Targetmaster partners to be paired up with them. Stepper/Ricochet here, he's now the oddball compared to his fellow Autobot Targetmasters, due to the fact that his Targetmaster partner of Nebulon was never given a modern deluxe figure by Hasbro. And that's because this is the most recent version of Stepper/Ricochet, which, amazingly, on his Transformers Wikipedia page, apart from the original Generation 1 action figure of him, this is only the second action figure of Stepper/Ricochet released by Hasbro. It's a repaint of the 2018 Power of the Primes version of Jazz. So he doesn't actually have his Targetmaster partner with him, but I still like to have him partner up with Artfire, who is released in the Generation 6 line. He does come with his Targetmaster partner, and infamously, Artfire comes with the same Targetmaster partner. His Targetmaster partner has the same name as Cyclonus's Targetmaster partner of Nightstick. So that's one thing to note about Artfire in that regard. But I'm losing my train of thought here. Yeah, I'm really thrilled to not only have a Sureshot standing here besides Pointblank and Crosshairs, but besides Artfire and Ricochet / Stepper as well. And just like Crosshairs, Ricochet being a repaint of the Power of the Primes version of Jazz, I believe he is sorely in need of a brand new Transformers action figure. I was hoping that Hasbro would have by now taken the Studio Series 86 Jazz mold and repainted it into Ricochet like they did with his Power of the Primes action figure back in 2018, but so far that hasn't happened yet. I also hope that we get a re-release of Artfire, because half of his parts that are sculpted in white plastic, like so many Transformers action figures released in 2021 and 2022, half of his white plastic bits have yellowed horribly. Since this video isn't about Artfire, I babbled about the other characters long enough, I won't show it off, but yeah, he is definitely in need of a new... He is definitely at least in need of a re-release here. But yeah, I'm really glad that Spoilsport is here to finally complete the team of Autobot Targetmasters. As I said, officially, not counting Artfire and Ricochet, who are the Takara Tomy exclusive Autobot Targetmasters. Because Crosshairs was released during the Siege Line in 2019, it took 6 years until Sureshot was finally released to complete the trio of original Autobot Targetmasters. The 6-year wait for me was worth it to finally have Spoilsport here, but as I said, he was originally supposed to be released during Legacy Evolution, so he was delayed by 2 whole years until he finally got released after all. So that's pretty much all there's to say. I'm really thrilled to see these guys standing here side by side and doing the size comparisons here with Sureshot. So without further delay, let's get Sureshot and his fellow Targetmasters transformed into alt mode and wrap up the review. Alright, and so here is Sureshot transformed into his alt mode of a Cybertronian Doom Buggy. The wheels roll really well. They are clipped on, which is a callback to some of the older Transformers figures we got during the Prime Wars trilogy and the Legacy trilogy of clipped-on wheels. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, overall, I'm really thrilled with how Sureshot turned out. He is very accurate to his Generation 1 action figure. And as I said, this is only the second action figure of Sureshot that's been released between both Hasbro and Takara Tomy since his original Generation 1 Targetmaster figure came out back in 1987. And yeah, for the aspect of Generation 1 nostalgia, it is fairly accurate compared to his original Transformers Generation 1 action figure. And I love how the arms almost have like these sculpted exhaust vents on the back. Now, I said at the start of the review that the hands were sculpted in place as part of the lower arms. Right at the base of the wrist, the hands peg into the back of the heel spurs of the robot mode feet. But I think they could have designed a swivel joint for the hands to flip up into the lower arms and just hide it away there. I mean, you can see Sureshot's head there on the back. And the 2 spoiler bits, they hide his face sculpt when he's transformed into his alt mode. But yeah, I kind of wish they would have just hidden the hands instead of making it one solid piece. But as I said, Sureshot was originally going to be released during the Legacy Evolution line 1 year after Pointblank's release in the Legacy Year 1 line, but he was delayed twice, first in Legacy Evolution, then again in Legacy United. So he was delayed by 2.5 years from the time he was originally going to come out. my camera is only showing up the blue. For some reason, my camera is blurring the blue windshield on Sureshot's alt mode into the yellow plastic here because it's so bright at a distance. But looking it up close, as you can see here, here it's very noticeable close up, and yeah, I'm really just thrilled with how he came out. The transformation is much more intricate than I thought it would have been, and the spoilers do like to pop off when you transform Sureshot back and forth between his robot mode and alt mode. So these two little racing spoiler bits here are going to be one of the main make it or break it deals with whether or not if you like Sureshot or if you don't, because of how they keep popping off when you transform him. And as I said, just like his Generation 1 Targetmaster action figure, there are technically a handful of 5mm ports found on Sureshot. He's got one set of 5mm ports here and there at the back section of the cockpit area, and then he's got ones on the sides of him here and here as well. But the only true storage spot for Spoilsport is when Sureshot transforms into his alt mode. The only place you can actually store Spoilsport is here on the front hood of Sureshot's vehicle mode. So because Spoilsport is sitting right in front of his cockpit, one could argue that Sureshot drives blind when he transforms into his alt mode and Spoilsport rides along with him. But this storage right here on the top of Sureshot's hood for Spoilsport, that is how his Generation 1 action figure stored the Targetmaster when he transformed into his alt mode. And again, I apologize for my camera bleeding the blue paint and white plastic here at a distance. For some reason, my camera doesn't like bright yellow plastic, especially when it's being looked at from far away. But yeah, if I put my hand over him and shade him from my bedroom lamp, there you can see all the different color schemes here on Sureshot. And he has the Autobot logo here that was on his robot mode chest. It ends up on the roof of his alternate mode. And there is a lot of sculpting detailing on here, but he does unfortunately have some hollowed out bits. It's on him as well, such as the bottom of his feet. There's hollowed out bits there. You got these hollowed out bits right here on the side of the cockpit here. That's not solid plastic. And then you got some hollowed out bits here on the front bumper orange section here as well. Also, he does have he does feel somewhat of a lightweight deluxe class figure in alt mode, more so than robot mode due to all the hollowed out bits that he has. But overall, as I keep saying, for the sake of Generation 1 nostalgia, yes, the designers at Hasbro and Takara really managed to make Sureshot's Age of the Primes deluxe class figure look a lot like his original Generation 1 Targetmaster figure from 1987 looked like. And so Sureshot, he rolls fairly well, even though he does have the clipped-on wheels, at least on my I forgot what this material is. It's not actual wood. It's like fiberglass. It's not fiberglass, but anyways, he does roll fairly well on a flat surface that has lots of friction to it. And for a one last size comparison, here is Sureshot once again with his fellow Autobot Targetmasters. Here he is next to Crosshairs and Pointblank. So as you can see, they are a pretty impressive trio. Again, Crosshairs is the one that's the most different looking out of the three of them, due to the fact that he's a repaint of Siege Ironhide, with the only sculpted difference being his robot mode head. So in alt mode, Crosshairs is the same as Siege Ironhide, the only difference being his mostly blue paint job. And of course, his Targetmaster partner Peacemaker wasn't originally sold with him. It was sold with the Walmart exclusive Voyager class Netflix Megatron box set. So Peacemaker and Crosshairs were sold separately, and Peacemaker is a repaint of one of the Titans Return Battlemasters, so the newer Targetmasters that were introduced with Legacy Needle Nose in 2022. They're smaller and less intricate than the Titans Return Battlemasters, so... No, I apologize for not showing Spoilsport or next to Peacemaker and Pinpointer. He is, as far as I can tell, an entirely brand new mold. But yeah, comparing the three of them together, Peacemaker is definitely the largest and the more intricately designed Targetmaster than Pinpointer and Spoilsport are. But yeah, they are a pretty impressive trio, and as I said, it feels really thrilling and satisfying to finally complete the trio of Generation 1 Autobot Targetmasters and having them added to my Transformers collection. And of course, for one last size comparison, once again, here also are the Japanese Takara Tomy Autobot Targetmasters of Ricochet / Stepper, and also Artfire. So here are the Targetmasters that appeared in Japan, and these are all the Targetmasters that were Targetmasters from the get-go. Unlike Cup, Blurr, and Hot Rod, who didn't start off as Targetmasters, these have always been Targetmaster Transformers. And just for those who are curious about how in the world am I storing Artfire's Targetmaster partner Nightstick on the top end of his ladder, it's a upgrade kit that I purchased the same year that Artfire came out, back in 2021. And so yeah, it is pretty impressive. So yes, it's I keep repeating myself like a broken record, but I'm just really blinded by nostalgia for the rebirth and the fact that it took 6 years to complete the trio of OG Autobot Targetmasters, with Crosshairs being released in 2019, Pointblank in 2022, and finally Spoilsport, who was released last year in 2025. It took 6 years for Hasbro and Takara Tomy to finally release all of the Autobot Targetmasters, but the wait was worth it for Sureshot and his partner Spoilsport to finally complete the team of Autobot Targetmasters. We've gotten a lot more subgroups of the Generation 1 Transformers character subgroups, is what I mean, on the Decepticon side than the Autobot side. On the Decepticon side, in addition to the Targetmasters and Headmasters, in more recent years we've gotten modern-day action figures of the Decepticon Double Targetmasters, the Trigger Cons, the Headmaster Juniors, but those Decepticons that we've gotten modern-day action figures of, they have Autobot Doppelganger counterparts as well, and for the Autobot counterparts to those G1 subgroups of Transformers characters, we've only gotten literally 1 or 2 of them released by Hasbro and Takara Tomy, and so, considering the fact that it took 6 years for the trio of OG Autobot Targetmasters to be given modern-day action figures, something tells me if and when we ever get more of the Autobot, the Autobot Double Targetmasters, the Autobot Triggerbots, the Autobot Headmaster Juniors, and so on and so forth, something tells me it's going to be a really long time before we finally get modern-day action figures of those Transformers Generation 1 characters. I mean, a 6-year gap between Crosshairs and Sureshot, that's an indication that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have found it easier to release modern-day figures of the Generation 1 Decepticons versus the Autobots. One reason one could argue why for the lack of the more obscure Generation 1 Autobot characters is Hasbro and Takara Tomy focusing on Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and also Elita 1, Grimlock, Windblade, RC, Ultra Magnus, and the more popular Autobot Transformers characters, but I really hope we get more of the more obscure Generation 1 Transformers characters to finally complete the Autobots who stand opposite the Decepticons we've gotten. As I said, we got all 3 of the Decepticon Targetmasters of Trigger Happy, Slugslinger, and Misfire back in the Titans Return line in 2016, so from that perspective of having modern-day figures of both the Autobot and Decepticon Targetmasters, it took 9 years from 2016 to 2025 with the release of Sureshot to finally get all of the Autobot and Decepticon OG Targetmasters and give them all modern day action figures. So, but yeah, like I said, for me personally, it's worth it to finally complete this team of the Autobot Targetmasters. So for the final proverbial question of the review, do I recommend getting Transformers Age of the Prime Sureshot and adding him to your Transformers collection? Absolutely. As a standalone Transformers action figure, what Sureshot has going for him is accuracy to his original Transformers Generation 1 Targetmaster action figure, and as I said, what his release marks is Sureshot was the last of the Autobot Targetmasters who needed to be given a modern day deluxe class Transformers action figure. So with his release, we now have modern day action figures of all the Autobot Targetmasters, including Cup, Blurr, and Hot Rod. I apologize for not bringing action figures of them out here, but in terms of Transformers the Autobots who have always been Targetmasters, in Japan, from Takara Tomy, there was Artfire and Ricochet / Stepper. And they got action figures before Sureshot did it as well. Oh, and yeah, I'm really thrilled to finally have these guys completed here. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the TFA. This has been my review of what, for me personally, was my most anticipated action figure from Wave 4, the Age of the Primes line, Deluxe Class Autobot Targetmaster Sureshot with his partner Spoilsport. I'm really thrilled to finally complete my team of Autobot Targetmasters. So thank you, Hasbro and Takara Tomy, for finally releasing Sureshot in the Age of the Primes line. And thank you to my friends and subscribers for your continued support. And until next time, you guys, please remember, collecting is a lifelong hobby, and it's fun as long as you enjoy it. Then by all means, feel free to collect as often as you can. And until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform, and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.